What's up, guys? Welcome back to Back Road Driver.
We're the Miser Brothers.
This is the 4th video in our 96 Bronco Build series. In this video, we're going to be changing some glass and some seals in the 2 front doors, the driver passenger, because we've got some scratches in those because the seals have dilapidated over the years and they've cracked and they've actually cut into the glass. And our main plan, I guess, is to get this thing blacked out, tint all the windows really dark so that you can't see who's driving the juice. But before we do that, we don't want to put that tint over cut glass. So we're going to get that fixed today.
Eventually, we're going to get back here to this back glass and replace it as well. That'll be in a future video. But this is one of the worst pieces, and I know this will show up on video the best. I want you to see how scratched this is over time, where the seals are just completely hardened. Right here is a very good spot. Brad, show them this. You can see this seal is really messed up right here, and this glass is just shredded right here.
It's not dirty. This is clean glass, and you can hear it when I scrape my finger across it here versus a non-scratch place. It makes no noise.
Now the seals on the inside are just as bad, and so there's scratches on the inside and the outside. That's going to affect putting window tint on. Let's go look at the piece of glass that we already changed out. So let me show you the piece of glass and seals that we've already changed out. Now, believe it or not, guys, we don't just know how to do all this stuff. We have to figure it out as well before we can show it to you guys. So we spent our time on this one, figured everything out, and we're going to show you hands-on the driver's side. So you can see this piece of glass is perfect now. This seal is all nice and fresh, and
no scratches.
No scratches and pits in it, and also this seal on the inside is fresh as well. So we've got a nice seal, and we're not going to be scratching this new piece of glass. Now we also changed out these seals that run all the way down in the track in the doors. We'll show you a close-up of that over on the other side.
So over here on the driver's side, this has actually been hit at some point. So this mirror has been replaced. We know that because it's got nicer, fresher chrome on, and now that we've had the back of the doors off, we can see who's been in there. There is some repair that's happened down here on the body as well. This did get replaced. This glass has been replaced. It got replaced with a Ford piece of glass. We know that because it says Ford on it, and the piece that we actually used over here is not. We will put a link to everything we've used today down in the description, so you'll be able to find that very easy if you're doing a project. A lot of this stuff works, whether it's an F-150 or a Bronco. It goes back and forth. A lot of the stuff that we learned about how to do this today was F-150 videos. It doesn't seem like there's as much Bronco stuff out there on the internet, but I want to show you this seal. This didn't get changed, and it looks like absolute dog garbage. It's hard as a rock, and it should be pretty flimsy, and I just cracked it just by putting my fingernail into it. So there are some scratches in this, even though this glass was changed at some point, probably in the last 15 years. There are some cuts in this as well. To be able to change this whole seal out, you have to take this piece of glass out to do it. So we're just gonna put our new piece of glass in. That way we're starting fresh, because we have to take it out anyway. If we didn't have to take that glass out and there's a couple scratches on the outside only, we'd probably leave it. But since we're in there, we'll go ahead and do the full thing.
A couple of things to know up front before we get started. If you're gonna change out your triangle glass, this is the time to do it, but you're gonna have your other piece of glass out, and it's gonna make getting your arm in there to it a little bit easier. To be able to change the rubber seal for that triangle glass, the glass 100% has to come out. So right now is the time to do it. Also, make sure that you leave your off side, your off window that you're not working on. Go ahead and roll it down. You might even want to roll down your back glass, just so you have a way to get back in your vehicle, have an extra key handy, whatever, because if you hit lock accidentally while you're fumbling with the controls, you will lock yourself out really easy. We figured that out, and luckily the back glass was rolled down and Brad crawled up through it. So remember, you're going to be hitting that switch pretty easy. Don't want to lock yourself out. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove this door panel. Now, this being a 96 Bronco, there's going to be some screws and bolts that are not factory anymore. Some are going to be missing, but that's just what you run into on these older vehicles. But we're going to remove all the bolts. Remember, there's one in the little handle here.
That's the change holder.
Yeah, change holder. The switch has a screw on it, but you're going to get all those screws off. You're going to have some push clips that you're going to pop out, and you're going to raise this door up and slide it off. Oh man, that one's a little crusty.
That one sounds stripped.
Yeah, it don't sound like that one was catching. This will allow you to slide this control panel through the door here in a minute. Let's see, is there anything else here? Alright, there we go. So now that we're good and loose, you're gonna raise up. You gotta slide it. You got your door handle. You're gonna slide the panel over till the handle comes through. Now you're out of the way. Unhook all this.
Got a courtesy bulb down low.
Now, you've got this. And on a lot of your newer vehicles, you're gonna have a clip. This one also has one that is screwed in. So it makes it a little tougher. But with this one screw out, this will get out of your way. You can kind of jam it through here. This is the easiest way to do it. Now you can get this out of the way. Now you will be replacing this piece. And along the years, we've noticed this has been replaced before. It didn't hold that well. On the other side, somebody put screws in here as well. You got to cut them off so that this lip stays on the vehicle pretty well. So it's kind of complicated because a lot of this plastic quits working over the years, and your fitment just doesn't seem to be as good as it was before.
On this right here, this is already broke because it snapped off sideways, but even on the ones that are working, you can tell there's not much woolly there to actually catch into that panel. So maybe not today, but we're going to come back.
This one, I just touched it and I broke it.
Cracked off. So we're going to replace all those at some point because we do want this. Not that I care about this Bronco being perfect, but I do want a good solid fit because I don't want this thing rattling. I hate rattles. Because this has been in an accident and this is the original, I guess you call it backing, this actually kind of keeps some moisture from getting into your actual door panel. It's been taken off multiple times. We'll just end up taping this back on really good when we get done. But yeah, it's coming off real easy. Once this comes back, that backer comes off, I wouldn't get rid of this, and there's really not a huge reason to replace it, but you do want it out of your way. I'm gonna clean all this up just because that's how I am, and if I get it taken apart this much, I'm gonna get it good and clean, and then we'll get this glass out. I've done a halfway decent job at getting that cleaned up. Now, we're gonna take this glass out, and full disclosure, this is the first time we've taken glass out the right way. What happened last time, Sam?
I ended up breaking it while it was inside the door, and you don't want that to happen because it is a nightmare to get vacuumed up all the way down in there. You have to basically vacuum, shake. 2
hours.
It's bad. So don't break the glass while it's inside there, or you're gonna be pissed. All right, so what we are gonna do is show you how you're supposed to take this glass out. And you see this bolt right here. This is going to be on a lot of different models, even some earlier Ford trucks, that sort of stuff. But this attaches to this channel. And once you take this bolt out, there is a bracket that's still in here, but you can push on it and you can get this track to twist a little bit. And that's going to be how you get this glass to come out of the track.
So that track actually goes from here all the way down. And so he's basically going to jump the track.
So let's take this bolt out. And they're pretty good. Good and rusty anyway.
Don't you want it to rust so then it like seals and it stays together better?
So you can see here that when I push on this, it can move the track a little bit. It's going to be more evident when I roll this window down.
You don't want to roll this thing down with the switch in the other hand and have your arm in there getting caught on that like he's done right now.
Gotta watch your hands, you want to wear gloves, all that kind of stuff.
You might want to be up a little higher.
Yeah, so that was easy. Popped right out at the top with it all the way down with this loose. And see, I pushed this out of the way. It's pushed over a good 1/2 inch at this point. So now it's out of the track. So once you're loose, whether you're crank handle or automatic here.
We're XLT, baby.
We're gonna come on up.
Push the glass that way now.
And at this point, we're gonna tilt the glass as much as possible. See this?
This right here, this arm is got a little bearing in it that's inside of this track. So we've got to get it all the way out of that track.
Come on up.
I think you twist it towards the vehicle. As he goes up,
here we go. Now hold on tight.
Angle. It keeps going up. This will actually go up further now because the glass isn't catching in the top.
And it's out of the track. And we're out of the vehicle.
So yeah, he's missing up top.
Just don't want to drop it.
And you don't want to ram it up into the top either. Because you can.
Yep.
See how it goes above?
Now we are out of the track.
Look how nasty this is. That's just siliconed in, so it's not possible just to take this glass out and slide another piece down in.
We may or may not have tried that at the first. Figured out that wasn't going to work. Glass is out. Now you want to repair these seals. You can see just how bad this exterior seal is. You have to have the glass out to put it in. So at this point, you're going to want to take this one out and put your new one in. Because if you forget and put your new glass in,
you got to start over.
You got to start over.
So when we look at new versus old, it's not just the color, guys. Like this has a fuzzy texture to it. It's going to slide on your glass. And then over here, it's cracked up, crunchy. There's no felt left. Like this actually just, it's so brittle, it just breaks really easy. Yeah, and here's the one that he just pulled out too. So this is the reason your window gets scratched. That, and you've got rocks and grime on your window, and you roll it up and down, you end up with scratches.
This glass came sealed up really good, packaged well. Looks like purpose-built boxes for it and everything.
Now both sides, drivers and passengers, were in another box with more foam.
Yeah.
But
it was wrapped really well for shipping. So I've got the glass unpackaged, ready to go in. But before that happens, don't forget, you're going to put your seals in for your window track and the weather stripping. One of them is going to go on your door panel. You can do that last. But let's go put this in the door. So to get this seal out, it's very easy. I mean, you can grab here in the corner, wherever, and this is just gonna pull right out.
It's nasty. It actually comes from, like, show them how tall it is. It goes all the way down in the door.
Yeah.
Down into that track, and then there's another one over here as well.
So the factory has kind of a 90 right here. It's not as pronounced on this side, but the new piece I noticed has a more pronounced 90 than the other seal. But that is going to fit here in this corner, in your sharpest corner. And what I figured out on the other side is you got to kind of start here and get this shape right. Everything else is fine. This is about an inch or two too long. It's not going to hurt anything down in the door panels or anything. So start here, start feeding this in. I'm actually going to go ahead and take these gloves off because I don't need them at the moment. I'll have a little better feel. See if that's in the right spot or not. This is the hardest part, is the first initial alignment here.
If you get that wrong, it's gonna be wrong. It's not gonna fit correct.
Right, the rest of it, you're just trying to feed this into the channel. It's no big deal, but you gotta get this situated right. That's the important part. So to feed that in there, you're gonna want something like this. You can use an 05-1 or whatever, but you got to be careful so you can force this through your seal and you've ruined your new seal. So, you know, I got one of these kits. I think this all come from Harbor Freight, really cheap. Find something that's stiff enough to work with, but it's not going to tear up your new rubber seal. But you want to work this corner good. And I think we're close there. You know, the glass is going to help shape this over time once you start running it up and leaving it in place. But as you can see, the rest of this goes in really nice. Glass works the channel out. We'll go ahead and feed that down in there. And I'm just gonna finish running this around, all the way around the track. This is the easy part, guys.
While Sam does all the work, take this time to go ahead and give this video a thumbs up down below. It helps us a lot with YouTube. It promotes our content to them and tells them that you actually like what you're watching. If you like what you're watching, go ahead and consider subscribing on the channel, because this isn't our only build. We'll do a complete build series on this, and I've been getting pretty inspired lately watching some videos of other pre-runner style Broncos just going nuts and some of the things you can do with them. One of the things that makes our channel different, guys, is we don't just do mods. We actually use the vehicles and do the craziest stuff you can do with them when we get the build done and while we're getting the build done. So consider subscribing, turn on the bell. Thanks, guys.
So we've got this seal in, and you'll be able to work out any little kinks. You want all the major stuff out of it, but if you got any small spaces, when the glass goes in, it's gonna help you get everything perfect. We're ready to throw in this edge guard in. And you can see we've got new clips here. Everything's nice and neat. Here's your old clips. You're just gonna line these up. I did notice on the other side that this curve is kind of where it needs to be. So you kind of got to bend it a little bit to get it in here. Popped in. You'll see this is way off, but at this point we can kind of bend it over here to shape it. There we go. It just seems like these seals are a little bit off. Now we've adjusted this all the way over. We're touching here. This looks good. But this is kind of a
weird spot.
Weird spot.
Sun on it, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, when the glass comes up, it's going to hold it in here, but there is a wrinkle on the other side as well. You know, we're not professionals by any means. Maybe there's a way to fix that, but I've got all the adjustment I know to do it out of it here. It's touching on the metal. It's pressed in as good as it's going to. It's just kind of like this is too steep of a curve. You run into that on a lot of these non-OEM replacement parts. It's going to get the job done, and no matter what, this is nice smooth felt, nice smooth rubber, and we're not going to be scratching the glass up. So it's time to put the glass in. Now, I recommend putting some gloves on, number one. Should probably have some eye protection on.
Nah, safety third.
You know, do not bang this onto something, and if it gets in a bind, a little bit's okay. If you got a really bad bind, this stuff, when it goes, it explodes in your hands. So be careful with that, guys.
He would know. This guy.
When you're up here at the same spot you were when you got it off, you can work this back on. You getting that on video?
Yep. Just slide it onto that. Let me help you there. You need a finger.
It's like, get in.
I'm reaching under.
All right, so we started. Okay, so I've scooched it in there. Now we can rock this around.
It's a little bit of an art.
It is.
I think you need to go down just a hair.
I mean, now that we're in, this is where you don't want to get it in too much of a bind, but you got to get that behind the door, and there we go. It's all gravy from here. Okay, we're in here. Now you're trying to do the opposite. You're trying to put the glass in. So we're going to come down here to the bottom. You're going to get it started in here at the top.
Notice how this glass looks very off level. Like it's running
It is
uphill
at this
bad.
point.
It's off level, but it has to be able to get it in where he's trying to go with this.
Remember, we've got this channel pushed over because we've taken this bolt out. You want to push that channel over as far as possible. Then we're going to work this glass up. We got it in on this side. Kind of use your thumb and come up, and it just slid right in. It'll be a little tight here at first. We're out a little bit down here at the bottom still. Let's go to the top.
You have to push on it.
Oh yeah, we're in here now.
All right.
So we're in the channel everywhere. It's seated inside of the new seal.
When you get down to this spot, the glass is not level down in the
Kind
door
of crooked.
frame. But as soon as it starts to come up, it levels right back up. So you never see it being unlevel, but that's a trick of how this stuff goes in and out because of how it's mounted on that frame.
Yep. So now that you've got the glass back in, you've verified that everything's going to work. Check your seals real good. Make sure it's where you want it. We've got the glass working good. Let's throw this bolt back in. I'm going to twist this back over, and you can see this thing. This is that deal we're talking about. You can pull on that, and it moves that channel over. But we're going to line this back up, throw this bolt in. Now we're going to prep the door panel and put its seal on so we can put the door panel on the vehicle.
So we talked about mud being another factor that actually scratches your windows up. Do you see this mud down through here? That on this felt, and then your window up and down on it, if you could get a rock stuck in this felt over time or something, that's going to scratch. Now these screws should not be here. If your start of your project was more pristine, you probably don't have them, but those are actually put in because you'll see this clip can't catch. There's nothing to catch on here. This got so brittle and broke over time, so they've added some screws in to make this felt actually stay in place.
Yeah, this one's just falling out.
And we may break more plastic when it comes out.
I'm gonna try it. Okay, so it didn't break anything.
You can tell, like, this is a closed gap, closed gap, closed gap. That was just missing. This one could go at any time.
Yeah, you got to be really careful with them. The other side had one missing at the back and the front. Just gonna go ahead and pop these in, get them seated pretty well. Now, that looks like a pretty good seal here, but I'm gonna reuse those screws that they'd had, and I'm gonna probably pre-drill through the seal so I don't get anything wonky going on.
Yeah, then we get a good clean seal.
Put one there, let's put one here. So these are small screws, and notice these have been ground off. The reason they're ground off is if you use a screw that pokes out the back, this has to rest over your door frame, so you don't want anything sticking out too far. So I'm going to try to reuse these. If you don't have any of these from somebody else working on this or yourself, you're going to have to grind those off with a cutoff wheel or something when you're done to keep them from coming on down here.
Now before you put your door panel back on, you'll have to switch your key on. Roll your window down to where you can see the groove here, and we're just going to take a little lithium grease, and you got to kind of get your hand in here, and we want to hit this track, the underside of it, try to get a bead to kind of cake up in there. You want to cake some up in the actual plastic piece that slides. Maybe that'll do a good job and spread this for us, but I'm going to hit this channel as well. Try to get some on the upper part of the channel. Yep, that took. I'll put a little bit right here. That's just going to give you years of good sliding action. You just don't want to get your channel dry. Nobody likes a dry channel. There we go, got a good smear. I'm even going to rub a finger in there a little bit and kind of smear it down. Of course, obviously when this thing gets hot, it's gonna really get it in there good, but I think since I fingered in that channel with the grease, it's gonna stay good and slimy. I hate it when somebody doesn't clean their tip before they put their cap back on. And then we've got the old WD-40. Your hinge for your handle right here, it's gonna be rusted if it's as old as ours. So we're gonna just hit this with a little WD, maybe take care of some squeaks and a little bit of noise in there. And I like the smell of WD-40, so it's so close to where I'm driving, I'll be able to smell that now. It smells good. Yeah, so you can just tell everything in this whole Bronco needs a little grease, a little WD-40. All this OBS stuff needs a lot of lube. You gotta lube it up good.
Now that everything's put back together in here, we're gonna put this plastic back over to cover everything up. Depending on how yours came off, it may still be sticky enough. This isn't gonna be sticky enough for us, so we're gonna use a little bit of tape. Now we would have done this a little bit more permanent, but we're gonna be getting back in here at some point. We may mess with the mirrors, maybe doing some other things, so we're not gonna do a 100% the best job you've ever seen on this. We are gonna get it to hold back in place. So now that that's there, we've got our door panel. You're gonna wanna go ahead and fish this back through. Don't wanna break any buttons or anything. Kinda got this back in its spot. Don't forget about your lamp light. Now these are blown. We went to the auto parts store today and forgot to check this number. We'll be getting back in here to replace those sooner than later. This is just a twist in. And now you're ready to slide that door handle back through the hole, which can be a little tricky. Not too bad this time. Slide this over. Now you're going to need to be unlocked so you can line up your lock again. Get it through there. Slide that into position. Make sure that all of your pop pins, if you've got any that aren't busted, you want to line them up before you start banging on it. I know a lot of newer door panels, it's really nice and you can just start banging on it. These, they're too brittle. So let's throw these screws back in now and we'll take a look at the finished product.
When you're done with this video, we'll have a link down in our description as well as in the end card showing you this entire Bronco build playlist. And when you're down in the description, you're gonna see that we have a lot of other builds on this channel. We actually race our F-150s. I've got an 18, he's got a 21. I'm pushing like 1,000 crank horsepower. He's 775 with a new 21 F-150 that has the Whipple on it. So you may wanna check out some of our other builds while you're down there. Let's see what this thing looks like.
The glass and seals look just as good as they did back in '96 now, guys. Pretty slick job here.
Look how clean that is, all the way up and around. Don't look at this one over here. We may do something about that later. Man, that's good. So I'm kind of catching the bug for this OBS stuff. We're a couple videos in at this point. We actually had something in this age range when we were growing up, so it's a little nostalgic for Sam and I to get in here and tinker with this thing because we had to make that thing run so we could go work in it growing up. We had an old F-250, long bed, strap ladders on it all the time, went to work in it. What I'm loving about this is how everything for this project wasn't expensive when you compare it to something new. Anything we do to this hasn't been expensive so far. So I think we're gonna kind of take it a little bit further. I wanna jump this thing. I wanna do some crazy stuff with it that I wouldn't do with like our brand new four-door Bronco. I mean, we've taken it off-roading, but you guys saw if you watched that video at Windrock, we had to stop when you got to where the trail was too tight and there's big branches and limbs hanging over. We didn't have a saw with us. So there's gonna be some stuff we can do with this one and be a little rougher because we've got like 1/5 of the money in it. And we could go hog wild. Like, we can do an engine swap. We can do a giant suspension on this. And then we can actually go use it. And if we wreck it a little bit, it's not the end of the world. It's something that can be fixed relatively affordable as compared to some of the new builds we do on this channel. If you're still watching this video, do us a favor and comment the juice down below. We love to see when guys watch the whole thing through. You're our biggest fans, and you're what's helping push this channel forward. Guys, we're a little over 20,000 subscribers at this point. 50,000 should be just around the corner, but our big goal is to get to 100,000, because a lot of big magical things can happen when we have more money to put into these videos that we make. So help us get there. Hit subscribe on the channel. Help us out. Comment the juice down below.
Thanks for hanging out with us in the garage today, guys. We're gonna get on this back glass project pretty soon. Brad's dying to get this thing blacked out. It's gonna change the appearance bigly. Bumpers, trim, maybe a motor swap. A lot of things left to do on this project, guys. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.